I believe nothing is coincidence. If you have someone in your life, even whether you bump into them at a store or you've known them for years, there is purpose in that connection. And a lot of the adventure in life is discovering, what that connectedness is. Is this a person just for this one brief interaction? Is this someone that's going to be in my life, long term? Or is this someone who's a short term, addition to my life just to teach me, some hard truths maybe I need to learn about myself? Hello and welcome to another episode of High Voltage. I'm your host, I'm Mackenzie Nelson, and I am here helping and hoping you to live your life fully charged, fully engaged, fully connected right to the source, which is where all of our ability, strength, power, love flows abundantly from that source, that energy, that beautiful place that we as spiritual beings have access to 24/7. We are never alone because, friends, God is real. And whether you refer to him as the universe, another name, it doesn't matter. We're all talking about the same thing, that sustaining life source that gives us all destiny and purpose, connectedness to one another. When you feel that with another person, that immediate sense of belonging, like this person is for me. Have you ever felt that with someone? I got to go on a weekend away with a dear friend who we immediately, when we met, felt immediately. Like neither of us had to say it. We just knew in that moment, this is someone for me. I can trust this person and I just met them. How do I know that I know that about this person? Of course, as we got to know one another better, and the years have progressed now, a couple of years since I met this dear special friend to me, it's been a pattern of overwhelming joy and love and kinship every time we are together. And I hope and pray that you have special people in your life like my dear friend. Special shout out to you right now. You know who you are. Well, I hope you have experienced so much joy during the holiday season this year, connecting with family and friends. I've taken a couple weeks off. This is my 20th episode. So episode 20, guys, right now is going down, and I can't thank you enough for the ride that this podcast has been for me, High Voltage, and your viewerships, your likes, your subscribes have really kept me encouraged to keep going. And just, getting a call from a friend when I'm sitting there wondering, is anyone watching this? Is it making a difference? Am I helping? Because that is my heart for doing this show. I'm only doing this because I have a heart to help other people, because I know what it feels like, right? To get smashed to the floor, to fall down and not even feel that I have the strength to get back up again, which is another reason I wrote my book, My Father's Feathers. And I have an exciting announcement to make, you guys. I've been waiting till after the holiday season. It is now available in an audiobook. And I'm so excited. I know a lot of you have said, no, Mackenzie, I'm just not a reader. That's really just not how I, can really process and get into a book in the best manner. So we decided to go ahead and do an audiobook as a follow-up to this book right now, which is also available still on Amazon. And the Audible will be available. It's available now on iTunes, and I will have my marketing team leave a link right here so you guys can go ahead and grab up that audiobook of My Father's Feathers, A Journey of Transformation and Healing, one feather at a time. And you don't even have to turn the pages. You can quite literally put it on in your car when you're driving, when you get home. So just another easily accessible way for you to really understand how, even if your circumstances don't change, even if those relationships that you want to get better are still stagnant and painful, there's a way, you guys, to live your life where you still can soar and fly above with a positive perspective over all of this, through accessing the source, through talking and connecting with God and learning how He speaks to you individually, because He made each one of us so uniquely. So He talks specifically to each one of us in the way He knows we were made to hear from Him. So I have heard from Him in such a variety of ways, whether through dreams, visions, songs, other people. And let me tell you, when He's speaking to you, it's not a coincidence that maybe you go to get your hair done and your hairdresser says something to you, and then you go to church or you go to connect with, your husband over dinner, and it's like, I'm hearing, the same thing from a lot of people. They're bringing up this same subject. For me lately, it's been circles. God's been speaking to me about the connectedness of everything, the full circle of life, and how I believe nothing is coincidence. If you have someone in your life, even whether you bump into them at a store or you've known them for years, there is purpose in that connection. And a lot of the adventure in life is discovering, what that connectedness is. Is this a person just for this one brief interaction? Is this someone that's going to be in my life, long term? Or is this someone who's a short term, addition to my life just to teach me, some hard truths maybe I need to learn about myself? So there are just many reasons and many different parallels in this full circle theology He's been talking about. And literally everywhere I go for like the last 3 months, someone's talking about a circle. Makes me wish I had a camcorder, just to record what is going on and all these different conversations, so I could show you guys, like, look, this is really happening. It's incredible when you connect with God. And none of this happened, at least that I was noticing, because now I seek it out. God tells us, seek and you will find. And it's not until we're looking for Him to show up. He's a God, who hides in plain sight, so to speak, until you start to seek Him out, until you ask God, are you speaking to me? Like, what are you trying to tell me? Like, I keep, now that Mackenzie's talking, I have noticed this recurrent theme going on in my life, but I've never really asked what's going on or why that's happening or why this same thing keeps popping up. And I tell you, it will keep popping up until you start noticing. He'll make it so obvious, you'll just smack dab in the face. This is what I'm trying to say. And it's just so much fun for me to seek out throughout my day the things that He has for me, because He loves surprises. He has a great sense of humor. He always is injecting my day with fresh new ways for me to go on treasure hunts, And this is my life every day. And this truly is why I'm writing this book, why I'm speaking to you, because if you aren't feeling excited, you guys, truly excited, I know things happen in life and some days are easier, some days are harder, but really, if you are just having every day a struggle, there's hope and there's healing, and you don't have to live that way. What you believe and what you choose in your mind, it's a choice, guys. You can choose truly how you live this existence out. It's not all just happening to you, right? You have power and you have authority to change your entire existence. And a lot of these key points are in my book. If you don't like to read, pick it up in Audible. I've had person after person come back to me and tell me how valuable these insights have been. And in a lot of ways, they have changed lives. That's how powerful the ability we have to decide is once we understand we have a choice. So today's episode, you guys, I know I talked a lot about all of that stuff, which really I pray every episode before I start talking. And I ask God to come and give me the words for whatever encouragement I need to speak out there for what he's placing on my heart. And so all of that, a lot of this is just me riffing and going and trusting God that he's going to give me the words to speak once the camera starts rolling. And I'll be honest, a lot of times what I speak about isn't really what I thought I was going to speak about, but it makes this whole experience for me so much more fresh and exciting. So thank you all for rolling with me. I wanted to talk about something that happened to me this past weekend that was completely unexpected. I recorded an episode, I think 2 or 3 in, about forgiveness and about an exercise, it's also in my book, that I've utilized in order to know who to forgive. Because sometimes you don't know. You don't know who to forgive. Doesn't that sound crazy? Like, I don't know how many different seminars or speeches I've heard on forgiveness, but really a lot of them are spoken with already someone thinking, you know who you need to forgive and you're just not forgiving them. And it's like, that's disobedience, to not forgive someone that you know you're holding unforgiveness towards. Here's the thing that I've discovered. You don't always know who you're choosing to not forgive. And I know that thought is like, for me, a lot of this story is in my father's feathers, but I didn't realize that I had held a lifetime of manifested unforgiveness in my heart that was quite frankly poisoning me to the extent that I had eaten myself to 300 pounds due to, the anger, the rage that I felt every time I thought about this man, my biological father, who abandoned me before I was born. My mother told me he was in the mafia, and as a result, if I looked him up, he would either murder me or he would come after my mother. So my whole life, whenever I thought about, my biological father, I was terrified, I was scared, I was mad, wondering where he was. And it wasn't until I learned about an exercise where I pictured a jail cell, and I talked about this in a previous episode, and he, popped into that jail cell, and I understood that, oh my gosh, like, I never thought to forgive this man. Like, I literally hated him. And I just thought that was how I needed to be, because my mom taught me to hate this man. And so I just assumed, based on my mom's caricature, that she was perfect. She never made mistakes. She was quite literally God incarnate in my house, to be worshiped, never questioned. So I had a lot of issues with adults because she taught me that adults never make mistakes, never question adults. And that's led to a lot of me having to do a lot of work to understand just because someone is an adult doesn't mean we can trust them implicitly. So I just thank God, that he's kept me safe from a lot of interactions that could have gone very wrong in my life due to my upbringing and what I was taught in my home by my mother. So sometimes you don't know who to forgive. And I think a lot of people assume if you're not forgiving people and you have unforgiveness in your heart, you're making a choice, right? I'll never forgive that person for they really did this thing and they'll never get that from me. And I think that a lot of people think that is the heart when you are holding unforgiveness. But the truth is, that was not my heart with my biological father. It never was my heart. I never even thought to forgive this man. Never. Because honestly, I was so stuck in my anger and in my rage. It took really working through and past a lot of that for him in my heart till I got to the point where I understood I needed to forgive this man and made the connection. And then I said, oh, okay, I really need to choose to forgive him, not for him, but for me. So this weekend, that's the backstory on really why I'm parlaying into this weekend with that same good friend. I'm going to sleep in the hotel room after a fun night out, after connecting in a safe place with my friend who I trust and love. And all of the sudden, I see this man's face. And this man is the father of the little girl who, when I was younger, molested me. This was over a period of a couple years. She would get me to go dress up in her mother's lingerie and then play doctor with her while she caused such severe damage inside of me. I had to have a reparative surgery, some years later in life. And this is also documented in my book. So I see the face of her father. And, there were pornographic magazines all over this friend's house. There were so much illicit material that should not be just brazenly out, for consumption, for children, anyone. So I can only say that I believe this man somehow to be responsible for the way Becky thought about all of these lingerie. Like, she was seeing them as a way to, this is a way to connect, and someone had to teach her that or show her that. That is sincerely what I felt in my heart. I have no evidence to support this claim otherwise. However, I've seen this man driving around town a couple times, and it just infuriates me. Like, here he is still just out living his life when he may have done this to both of his daughters or taught them how to do it. I don't know what he did, but I feel deeply in my heart that he's responsible for a lot of what happened to me, even though he did not directly hurt me. And now, I see him on Facebook commenting on friends' posts, and it manifests as just this rage in me, okay? So I'm laying there and I see his face and I hear, Mackenzie, you need to forgive. You need to forgive. And I hadn't thought about it. I had never thought, just like my biological father, that I hadn't forgiven this person too. Yet here it was again, right? So humbling. And of course, in that moment, laying in that hotel bed, I said, God, I forgive him, but I pray every day that he has no access to any little children, that he cannot do this again. Please, God, bind his hands. And if he ever does, please bring him to justice, because there is quite frankly nothing, me as a survivor of sexual abuse, remembering my own sexual abuse during the pandemic for the first time, there is nothing that I can do to bring this man to justice or accountability. I have no recourse. And I think that powerlessness a lot, when someone has affected us in such a terrible manner, it's really, really hard to even process that. But I feel this happened on that night because this has been a work in progress, ever since I learned and remembered my own molestation. It was so buried, so deep behind so much other trauma that mainly my mom had inflicted on me as a child, that it took some time to get to this place, right? Where you keep working, you keep trusting God. I'm sharing this with you to let you know that I am still on a journey of forgiveness, and I believe each one of us, forgiveness is a journey that we all are on through the duration of our life. It's not a one-time thing, right? And it's not just one time for one person. This can creep back up again. And you just have to ask God, what's going on with my heart, God? Because really we're so blind to ourselves. So it is the Holy Spirit that really brings the truth to light and what we're really thinking, what's really going on with our heart and what we're holding against people. So when God illuminated the truth, that I still was holding unforgiveness against someone, I chose it, and I felt spiritually lighter. I could feel a shift as soon as I said, yes, I will forgive this man. Because guess what? I don't believe it's people aren't the problem. it is a spiritual existence that we are living in this physical realm. So there are spiritual entities that are impacting us in this physical realm. And some of the spiritual entities, I believe, are good and some are evil. And I believe the fruit that we bear in this life of our actions is determined by which spiritual entities and sources are we tapping into on a daily basis, because that is what's going to manifest in your life and in your existence in this physical space. So choosing to forgive is essential for leveling up spiritually, right? You want to see all the good things God has for you. If you don't forgive when he brings these people to mind and you say no, you're keeping yourself back from the better things that God wants to unleash and release in your life. So I chose to forgive, and it shocked me. I was like, man, I wrote a book about it. I talked about forgiveness, but this one slipped by me, the last few years. This one slipped by me, so to speak. But now, thanks to God illuminating him and his face to me, I get to feel lighter and I get to level up, from glory to glory, guys. Use the tools God has given us to live your best life. If you want to win and you want a life of wins, he is it, friends. He is it. So stop now and ask God, hey, if there's anybody, that I'm not forgiving them, but it's not because I'm sitting here, actively thinking I want to hold things against so-and-so. It's not always like that. Sometimes it is, but sometimes you don't know who you need to forgive because you're so blind to yourself, like I was. So thank you so much, you guys. This has been an exciting journey to make it to my 20th episode, 20 minutes in. I hope you all learned something new in this episode. And if you did, reach out, send me a message. It encourages me so much and keeps me going on my journey to hear how I'm encouraging you. So have a great day, and I'll catch you next time.